he felt a little offended. So we read, I hear that Turki passed over the reins of boxing to Dana White. That comment to me, I felt a little offended. I've been in boxing all my life. I've been promoting for 20 some odd years. So what I do,
the fans are singing.
Players have do is stay in my lane and do what I do for Golden Boy and DAZN and give the fans the best fights that can possibly be made. Just like we've been doing for years. Working with Turki Al-Sheikh in Riyadh season and sprinkling these championship events, it's an honor for me to do that.
He's racing ahead with the ball. It's Cristiano Ronaldo. Well, they've taken the lead, and I wonder now whether that will give them some momentum for another goal.
In the fight game, and we take our fighters to championship levels and superstardom, like we have with Canelo and Ryan Garcia. All three fights have the potential to steal the show. I guess he's talking about a boxing card here, but it's up to the fighter. You have to fight hard, you have to fight with passion, and you have to make a statement. And anybody could win at any given time. Finally, well, penultimately, he says, I'm going to stick in my lane. I'm going to work with Turki Al-Sheikh because it has been very positive. Competition in boxing is really good, but I'm going to continue to do what I do because boxing is what I love. Boxing is what made me, what helped me get here, and I'm never leaving. Turki has his plans. That's it. If Turki goes without the WBC, then that's his event. He's paying Canelo. He paid for Ring Magazine. He can do whatever he wants to do because it's their event. I'm sure Sulaiman didn't take it well. And here De La Hoya's referring to the incident, if you want to call it that, where Turki Al-Sheikh was on stage with a couple of fighters. I think it was Canelo and William Skull. And they wanted to put the WBC belt in the mix, in the photo. And Turki Al-Sheikh said no. So I think that's what De La Hoya is referring to here. Anyway, he said, I'm sure Sulaiman didn't take it well. I'm sure Sulaiman is thinking, wow, WBC, my father, been around forever. The fighters love the WBC. Sulaiman has to be a little hurt, but I'm not sure what the relationship is or how they're going to work it out. But fighters love fighting for belts. The little fighter from Rialto, California, coming up, fighting for the Continental Regional Championship, to the fighter, that means everything. That's the way I grew up. You grow up wanting to be world champion, WBC, WBA, IBF. It'll be interesting, all right? Those are the words of Oscar De La Hoya. Now, I was watching an interview with Dan Rafael the other day, within the past couple of days. And he interviewed Dana White. And obviously, Dan Rafael's been around a very long time. He knows a lot about boxing history. He's a veteran journalist and so on and so forth. And he shares my view with regards to this venture between Turki Al-Sheikh, the WWE guy Khan, and Dana White, in that he doesn't think this will be something that takes over boxing in the near future. Because boxing is so much bigger than MMA in terms of the number of participants. It's a much older sport. Professional boxing under Queensberry rules is like, 150 something years old? During that time, so many promoters all over the world. But if we just think about the Anglosphere, the likes of Bob Arum, Top Rank, the likes of Eddie Hearn, before him his dad, Barry Hearn, Matchroom, Frank Warren, Queensberry Promotions, Oscar De La Hoya, Golden Boy, etc., etc., Al Heyman, PBC. Okay, some of these companies go back decades and decades and decades, long before the UFC existed. They have long-standing relationships with broadcasters, and it's primarily the broadcasters that pay the money to put big fights on. I spoke in a previous live stream or a previous video about how the Saudis and back in the days, Vegas casinos used to pay site fees. But primarily the way that, promoters come up with money to put shows on and pay fighters is from the broadcasters. They front up the money and then the pay-per-view revenue comes in and they split it, right? So broadcasters know that there are many promoters out there who can deliver for them, who've got a history over decades of delivering for them. That was never the case with MMA. It's only really UFC that have this track record of being able to deliver big numbers on pay-per-view. The other MMA companies don't. This is the difference. This is why I think it's going to be much more difficult for, even with Turki Al Sheikh's money and Dana White's expertise and his track record with the UFC and Khan with the W. Despite all that, I think it's going to be more difficult because there is a more established establishment, right? To use some funny terminology. The boxing establishment is far more established and far more powerful than the MMA establishment outside of UFC. So for them to try and put all this under one umbrella, I'm not saying it can't be done, but I think it's going to take longer than people expect, okay? And again, boxing has an enormous number of participants compared to MMA. I don't think people who watch MMA really realize this. If you go look up the number of professional MMA fighters there are in the world, folks, it's less than 2,000. Look it up. It's less than 2,000 people in the entire world who are professional MMA fighters. In boxing, it's 24,000. And that's men and women combined, by the way. Less than 2,000 in MMA. Whereas in boxing, you're talking about 24,000 active male fighters. Now, many people will argue, well, of the 24,000 active male fighters, most of them are rubbish. What, are you trying to tell me that out of 2,000 active MMA fighters, the majority of them are good? Even in the UFC, they've got about 700 fighters. That's the estimate that I've been able to find online, right? At any one time, they might have